Now, we have the option drive 7.6 UA active woofer with an installation height of a mere 5.8 centimeters. And I'm going to show you what this little subwoofer can do. Welcome to ARS24, your channel and online store for good sound in the car. It is about this small drive, 7.6 UA subwoofer for underseat mounting and active operation. In other words, we have a minimally flat subwoofer here that is also very manageable in terms of its dimensions and fits into many small spaces under a seat where other active subwoofers that are actually designed for this purpose no longer fit. The membrane is here. It is relatively difficult to see. It's a 7.6-inch diaphragm, which means it is an almost 20-centimeter diaphragm, but not exactly. It is only 19 centimeters. That is why it was given its name. But the container itself is a pressure die-casting aluminum container, which is so ultra-stable. And the only way it works is that there is hardly any movement in it, and hardly any vibration. The subwoofer is also designed to be extremely stable, in order to be able to cope with the compression in this enclosure. And I'll tell you one thing. The subwoofer sounds extremely nice for its size. And it's really great fun to listen to the bass, because it sounds nice and round, and not at all as pressed as many other active woofers do. And we have a built-in 100-watt RMS amplifier here, which is supplied with plus and minus at the terminal, and of course has a few adjustment options, whereby we can of course adjust the level of the subwoofer. We can select the crossover frequency, that is to say, a low-pass filter for the bass range, which then cuts out everything that would sound boomy. So we can also adjust this here via a frequency selector switch or regulator. And we have a bass boost that we can also turn in a little, which makes a little more bass at low volumes. We can also choose whether the whole thing should take place on auto remote on, that is to say, high-level input. This means that we take the loudspeaker outputs of the car radio, not cinch outputs, but loudspeaker outputs, and then feed the signals directly into the output stage here. And our output stage recognizes, as soon as the power supply with plus and minus is already connected, as soon as the car radio is switched on, the output stage, which is installed here, is also switched on, or switched off again, automatically, when the radio is switched off. So, we can do all that here with these electronics. And we have a phase selector switch. This means that when connecting the loudspeaker signals to the car radio, we can sometimes not know what is actually the plus and what is the minus on a green-blue cable and a red-yellow cable. Well, I find that difficult too. I wouldn't automatically know which is plus and which is minus, so I can still correct the phase afterwards with the phase selector switch, so that the bass is practically in the same motion as my front speaker system, and thus also produces the harmonious, thick bass. If it is exactly the wrong way round, then even the bass is cancelled out. You will even have a worse result than if the phase selector switch is correct. But that's a push of a button you can hear immediately, right or wrong. That is to say, more bass or less bass. As far as the settings via the regulator that you have available here are concerned, you can also basically say the level doesn't basically regulate the bass intensity, but we adapt the subwoofer to the existing sound system. And this is done by turning the car radio up to about 3/4, to 80 or a maximum of 90%, and having the gain control fully closed at the beginning. And only now do you start to turn up the gain control until the subwoofer delivers the right amount of power and sounds good and doesn't sound too loud. It may also start to distort at some point if you turn the lever up too far. This allows you to find the optimum transition point. And I usually recommend leaving the bass boost at 0 for the time being. This can also sound fat and unpleasant relatively quickly. And the frequency range switch can theoretically always be turned down very far on the vehicle, because the vehicle's own resonance raises the bass a little further forward anyway. And the higher you set it, the more boomy the sound will be. So, those are the few tips I would like to give you along the way. The scope of supply also includes a remote control for the leveler. This means that once you have set it up correctly, you can now shift up and down to the limit at any time with a suitable cable adapter. The whole thing can be installed anywhere in the vehicle where it suits you best. And the scope of supply also includes small metal plates, in case you want to screw the woofer down somewhere. For this end, there already is this appliance attached at the foot side. The appropriate screws are included, and everything is therefore provided for, in terms of installation, so that everything is nicely integrated into the vehicle. I recommend that you use a corresponding power cable, a 2.5 square power cable kit. That is to say, to connect power and ground accordingly. If the subwoofer is installed in the front area, if you have a longer route and want to install the battery at the front of the engine compartment and the subwoofer at the very back, for example, then I recommend a 4-square power cable kit. The cinch input, which can still be seen on the front of the amplifier, naturally also provides the option of using cinch outputs on a retrofit radio, and then connecting them with a cinch cable to bring the signal from the radio to the subwoofer. But then we also need the remote input. That is to say, the middle connection here for switching on the output stage, so that the output stage also knows, now radio on, now radio off. You will then have to connect this to the remote output line on the retrofit radio. We also currently offer you 3 other sets, where the plug-and-play wiring harness and the whole thing can then be easily done on the car radio, on the factory car radio. And this can be done for all vehicles that have a Power-Quadlock. We are talking about the latest models in the entire VAG group. We have a connection that goes completely to Quadlock. That's always the case in the VAG group, but in most vehicles it's a bit like an older model year, everything that's under, that is to say, older than 2016, so you can roughly assume that it's more of a Quadlock. Everything that is younger has a Power-Quadlock. And for those who still have an old ISO connection in the vehicle, we also have a third package so that you only have to dock in between and don't have to tap or solder any cables yourself. And with this ISO connection kit, we have different T-cable sets for many different models that have neither Quadlock nor Power-Quadlock, but the connector plug that is in the Hyundai, in the Renault, in whatever you have at home. You can also call us and ask, what kind of adapter piece do I need additionally? We will be happy to help you. Write us the email at info@as4and20.com, or write or call our support on the 08331-990-300. However, it is always important that you do not have an original sound system already integrated in the vehicle, but rather a standard sound system. Even if the subwoofer is declared as an underseat subwoofer, you can of course place the woofer anywhere else in your vehicle, wherever it fits, because of its small design. And in the video, where we also suggest to you, you can also see that you can attach the whole piece with Velcro tape, and also wrap the cable with textile tape, so that it looks really cool. If you want to see how to install the subwoofer live and completely, I have the video of a Ford Transitor where I have installed this great piece. Again, I'll put the link at the bottom of the video description so that you can find the video immediately. You can find all the articles and cable kit recommendations presented below in the video description text, with a link to the web shop. And apart from that, I hope I've introduced you to something nice, and that you have fun choosing your favorite subwoofer. And we'll see you again in the next video. And until then, thanks for watching and goodbye.